Robert Novak is a man of many talents and interesting stories. He has been in advertising and creative businesses for years. He writes, he has worked with big stars over the course of his career. He has made a wonderful home for his family. He loves taking care of his garden and trees. He provides home for many animals. Over the years, he has seen many things as it all started for him in the legendary Studio 54 in New York City.
Without somebody wanting to take it down.
All of a sudden, the lights went on, the police were there. It was like the reality was in your face.
I got my start, actually, at Studio 54, which we had talked about previously. I was a face painter.
A face painter in Studio 54?
Studio 54.
That's amazing.
With my former business partner and my cousin. And we used to walk up to people, and we wore a beret, white outfits, and we had palettes with lights on it, and we painted beautiful art on people's eyes, and they paid us.
That's amazing.
And that was the beginning of my introduction to the beauty industry. And from there, I actually traveled to Japan, and I face painted. I went to Europe, and I face painted.
What is the craziest thing that you've seen in Studio 54?
The craziest thing? Well, this is now late 70s, early 80s, so you're talking about the peak.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know what you know about it, but you had to be picked to come into Studio 54. So I was fairly young. So what I saw, I'm probably not even allowed to repeat. It was crazy. It was freedom. People just living life, having fun. There was a lot of drugs. I did not do drugs, for the record.
Okay.
But I was meeting people from all over the world. Andy Warhol, Bianca Jagga, Calvin Klein, they were like staples there. Halston, Brooke Shields used to come in. I didn't get to meet, but I know Michael Jackson was there. So it was this incredible hub of energy and creativity, and it was wild. It was Calvin Klein when he was probably at the peak of his career. But he was always friendly, always kind, always would introduce you to people. Andy Warhol was very quiet, reserved. I do remember one night, I don't know if you remember the Weather Girls?
Yeah.
They performed one night, and there was a big gay community there, and their song, It's Raining Men, came on, and I just remember that place erupting, people dancing on the bars, and these lights come down. I'm sure you've seen the videos where they spin, and there's whistles, and it's so hard to describe.
Which is kind of strange, because you told me that you had a very street type of growing up, and then you have this fashion and beauty industry. How did the two mix so well?
It was actually a perfect upbringing for that, because we all three of us grew up in Brooklyn. I mean, we all came from great parents, but we were on a street all the time, and you learned how to communicate with people, and you learned what to look out for, and you learned how to communicate. And that experience as a kid, when you start stepping out into this kind of unknown world of, we'll use Studio 54 as the epicenter. Yeah. You have to think quick. You got to see what's going on, and people taking the money. We had a lot of money in our pockets. They used to give us cash, so you had to think on your feet always. And then we were all creative. My cousin's super creative, and I was an artist, and my friend Mark was super creative. So we combined all of this kind of street energy with art and creativity and fearlessness.
Welcome to the world of Cuccio. Our company was formed 30 years ago and is one of the largest professional nail care companies in the world. We supply our beautiful ranges to professional salons and spas in over 130 countries worldwide. You will never see our brands in retail.
How did your work with Cuccio begin, and what exactly is that you do?
I am the creative director of Cuccio. It's a global cosmetic company, and met Anthony Cuccio about 25 years ago. And the rest is history. It's a global company, 120 countries. And we're doing really, really well right now. It's really a great time for us as a brand.
That's amazing. Why
on earth did you come to Bulgaria?
It was the question I asked myself. 4 years ago, I became a partner. And Tony Cuccio is one unique individual, brilliant businessman. He's built a global beauty company from a table on Venice Beach. Him and his wife
Wow.
started selling cosmetics on Venice Beach almost 35 years ago. And he's built a global network of distributors and family, basically, at this point, Bulgaria being one of them. Gargana is our distributor in Sofia and all of Bulgaria. And he said, we're doing a photo shoot in Bulgaria. And I went, excuse me?
Bulgaria?
And I went with it because I trust his vision and his intuition. He's a people person, and he really gets, and he sees opportunity. Economically, it made unbelievable sense for us to do what we tried to do, which was a 5-day photo shoot with 10 models and locations. And in Los Angeles, that would be $100,000. And you wouldn't get the quality that I ended up getting in Bulgaria. I had the best photo shoot I've ever had. I worked with probably the best photographer named Diliana Florentin. Just incredible team that she put together, stylists, makeup, hair, models, the most beautiful models I've worked with. Passion beyond belief. And it was just magic. When we came together, everything worked out.
So how did a man from Brooklyn meet a Swedish woman and marry her?
I met this wonderful gentleman named Temple Williams who changed my life. He was a Pulitzer Prize writer, journalist. He taught me how to run a business. He taught me how to write. The best advice he ever gave me, the worst that can happen is someone's going to take you out in the back and shoot you. And I tell that to my kids. I know it sounds kind of gross and scary, but it just tells you, like, do anything you want, go for it. He said that's the worst that's going to happen, and it's usually not going to happen, so you might as well fulfill your dreams and go for it. He introduced me to my wife. His wife is Swedish. My wife is a chef. She was working at a restaurant called Aquavit in New York, a wonderful Swedish restaurant, and she house sat for them in Soho. And they just hooked us up. And we went out. It was the worst first date of my life. The worst.
Why? What happened?
Because I could talk, and she's Swedish, and she was very reserved and quiet. And from that day, I'm married 30 years. I told her, oh, you should open up a business, and you should open up a restaurant. And she was here as an au pair and a chef, as just an adventure in her life.
Yeah.
And she thought I was crazy. And we spent 5 hours. 4 hours and 59 minutes was me talking about what she should do and her dreams and all of this. She was like, I'm done. And then for some reason, we went out on a second date. And the best thing happened was we were waiting online at a restaurant, and it started pouring rain. And we just grabbed each other's hands. We hadn't even, there was no connection in the first date. We grabbed each other's hands. It was like out of a movie. We ran down the street in Greenwich Village to a little restaurant called Greenwich Time. The windows were all fogged up. It was pouring rain. Her makeup was running. My hair was all wet. All the bullshit was kind of wiped out. And it was just her and I. And we talked about everything. And that was it. Been together since that day.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's an amazing story.
She's an amazing woman. We fell in love, and then we decided to get married. And we packed up. We had a suitcase and a dog, and we landed in Los Angeles and built a life for ourselves. 2 beautiful daughters, our home, my business, her business. She's an executive chef. So it's wonderful. The best advice I can give is be real. And I believe that's why I've been successful. And I've been able to work with the level of talent that I have been, is because I am starstruck, I'll be honest. If one of my big clients was Halle Berry at the time, and she would walk in and it's Halle Berry. But then once you kind of let go of that that nervousness, you realize they're human beings. And if you treat them in that same manner that you treat everybody, they embrace it. And then all of a sudden all those barriers are cut down, and that's when the creative juices can flow, and you can be real, and you can write, and you can say, oh, you know what, let's do this shot, let's try this. And I'm sure it's the same thing in an interview. You have to kind of create the atmosphere, you have to create the trust. So probably the other thing is trust people. Just believe it's going to be okay. My wife has a saying, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. So you just keep going, and you keep trying, and if you fail, you pick your ass up, and you go again, and you try, and if the light's not right on a shoot, or the words aren't flowing, you take a break, you take a walk, and then you try again, and it may take you 100 times, but eventually it all comes together, and there's nothing more satisfying knowing that you took an idea and brought it to fruition, and you see it kind of have a life of its own.
Thank you. That's like the best ending of this conversation. Thank you.
My pleasure.